which you operate determine how many errors will be made, what kinds of errors will be made, and how consequential those errors will be. And the safer we make our system, the fewer errors there will be, the less serious they will be, and the better the consequences of the inevitable human errors that are made.
Thank you. For all the members of the panel, is there one area of inquiry that you think this subcommittee should pursue? What would, in your view, the next step for the subcommittee be? We'll start here. If you have one now, then we'll take it. If not, we'll take it for the record.
I'll think on that and provide you something for the record.
Thank you very much. Representative Captain Carey?
Critical checklist. For example, the MCAS, the airworthiness directive after the Lion Air crash that came out on the MCAS system. The manual trim, we learned after Ethiopian that it was almost humanly not possible later stages in the event for a person to move the manual trim wheel. So we not only have to devise checklists, we have to make sure those checklists are able to be performed by a flight crew in that situation.
Yeah, thanks. Captain Sullenberger?
I would love to add two thoughts. First, that each aircraft manufacturer must have a systemic, a comprehensive way of safety risk assessment that can review holistically entire aircraft designs, looking for risks, not singly, but in combination. And the second thought I would have is that leadership starts at the top. Quality and safety start at the top, and it starts with governance at the board level of our aviation manufacturing companies. I would love to see more people men and women with subject matter expertise and who understand the science of safety, and that means engineering expertise. Someone needs to be a pilot on the board who understands the implication of design choices.
Interesting. Thank you. President Nelson.
In terms of getting the MAX back up in the air, there just simply needs to be transparency in the process and a full explanation to all the stakeholders and continued involvement. But what I think that this committee needs to really look at is the relationship between the FAA and the manufacturers and the airlines, and this issue of client and customer relationship as opposed to governance and oversight from the FAA and proper funding to get that done.
Thank you. Mr. Babbitt.
Yes, sir. I think the FAA, with committee oversight and manufacturers as well, need to devote a little more energy to understanding what's coming in the future with this relationship between the man and the machine and the interface. I have quoted in my written testimony, I didn't give it here, but in my written testimony, I quoted Chris Hart, former chairman of the NTSB, who said, you know, automation does a wonderful job of masking weaknesses in human performance, but it's amplified when that automation fails. And I think we need to understand better what we can do to protect that from happening.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank the panel of witnesses for coming today, for responding to our request to be here, for helping the subcommittee understand better what the flying public thinks we ought to be doing, as opposed to what the FAA thinks or the industry thinks. And it was very helpful, and I appreciate it. And before I gavel out, I do as well want to recognize the families, relatives, and friends of the men and women who were the victims of the two crashes. Thank you for coming again, for being vocal in your efforts to ensure that this subcommittee stays accountable to the families and relatives and to the flying public here.